video is brought to you by Against the Flow of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi is a book about Jake Fayard, a Marine veteran who is unhappy with the political machine running the state of Mississippi. He decides to fight the corruption from the inside. Jake will face more challenges than he ever has and will stand up for what he thinks is right. His notoriously hot temper will push him to the edge of murder, along with his friend and brother Kobe Barhanovich. Together, they will fight the system and give the power back to the citizens of Mississippi. Against the Flow of Mississippi was written by Anthony Oksenholt and was published by Oksenholt Biloxi Publishing, LLC. A link to the book will be placed in the description below.
Yeah, this a revolution in our time. Everybody's fighting, change coming, yes. That's why it's an acronym for riot. Everybody has a voice. Don't you dare stay silent. If you say nothing, you are an accessory to violence.
They've had their say. Seems like they've had that kind of say around here for too long. Look, I had to stand up for myself alone. I went in there to remind them that somewhere in this world there's still a little order left. To let them know in the only kind of terms that their kind understand is that they can't bribe or threaten their way out of what they did. To let them do this to me and get away with it, and you give them the eternal right to do the same damn thing to any one of you.
Placed in the description below. Okay, where do I begin on this one? You know, I know a lot of people in this world, and, you know, I lived in Florida quite a while. While I was living in Florida, I had the pleasure to meet a good friend with a YouTube channel. A friend who, of the First Amendment auditors, is probably the nicest, most articulate, and most professional that I've ever seen. Now, y'all seen what I think of First Amendment auditors. I think they're, for the most part, a waste. Being that a lot of them just bait the cops, file a complaint, and then a lot of them don't really do shit. They just get a bunch of Facebook and YouTube likes, and that's it. This man would be the exception. This is Jeff Gray. I believe he's, as far as I know, I think he's still living in St. Augustine. Good guy. And, well, apparently he's been bouncing around in our backyard. I've seen him make videos in Ocean Springs. And I didn't realize that he had one in Waveland. Wish I'd have known he's in Waveland. Be my pleasure to take him to the Knock Knock. But apparently he really caught a big fish in Waveland. Sgt Joffrion, whatever this douchebag's name is, I don't care. I'm going to call you Sergeant Disgrace. You damn sure don't deserve the stripes, and you really don't deserve the badge. And this is coming from a sergeant, formerly of the Florida Department of Corrections. I know what those stripes mean. And in Mississippi, believe it or not, sergeant stripes mean more in Mississippi than they do in Florida. For the simple fact that your smaller departments like Waveland, your sergeants are really your shift supervisors unless it's a little different from the other departments that I've dealt with. I know Stone County, a sergeant's an OIC, is an officer in charge. Um, so I'm assuming Waveland, being a smaller department, would probably be about the same, which means that there is a chance that this guy could be the highest ranking police officer on shift. This means that when you ask for the supervisor, he's it. Unless you get to the admin ranks, which is usually lieutenants and captains. Maybe a major, but depends on if the department has a major or not. So, versus the Florida Department of Corrections, sergeants were responsible for a certain piece of the facility. Lieutenants were admin. Sometimes they were OICs, depending on the size of the institution. Captains were the OICs, the officers in charge. Major and colonel were more your admin duty warden ranks, and then it goes up from there to assistant warden, um, classification supervisor, and wardens. So just throwing this out there, sergeants in Mississippi are pretty high rank. I don't know how they gave this guy this much responsibility. Um, I have seen, the deposition where he was asked, "Why did you do this? What could you have done differently?" And then he was asked on policies. Now this is an officer in charge, and he was asked about policies, and he could not answer. He threatened to arrest Jeff for vagrancy. Vagrancy is not a crime in the state of Mississippi. It doesn't exist. It was repealed like 5 years ago. I learned that in the deposition. I didn't even realize that, and I'll be the first one to tell you. I thought it was still a crime. But apparently it's been repealed. Maybe I need to start looking up. Maybe I need to read Title 97 of the Mississippi Code of 1972 a little bit more. I haven't read it in a few years in its entirety, but maybe I should. I'm sure there's some new things there I would like to know, some new information. But I digress. I'm not a street cop. I never have been a street cop. Wouldn't want to be a fucking street cop. Damn sure not if I got to answer to some asshole like this. Tell you the truth, if he was my supervisor acting like that and telling me to do shit, honestly, we'd probably find ourselves in the parking lot going at it. I couldn't work for somebody like that. My temper would not allow it, and I admit this as a man. Um, because I know myself. So yeah, if that guy was my immediate supervisor, we would more than likely have problems, and they would get solved very undiplomatically. Well, I'm glad I don't work for him. To those of y'all who are on the street who actually have the misfortune of being placed as subordinates to this asshole, my heart goes out to you. I have never seen, and I have watched many depositions. I've seen some arrogance and some just stupidity in depositions by civilians and law enforcement officers. This guy takes the cake. I think I think that this guy, if this guy is not stripped at least of his rank, really needs his badge stripped. But if he's not at least stripped of his rank after this, then there's a problem in Waveland. This guy just made my list of people that I'm going to thoroughly investigate. This is my project to clean up law enforcement on the coast. He's on my list. Very high up on my list. I plan on putting this into full swing very soon. So when I start knocking on doors and handing out FOIAs and things of that nature with the city of Waveland, you can thank this guy for me doing it. Not to mention that he happened to do this shit to a friend of mine. By the way, check out Jeff Gray's channel at Honor Your Oath Civil Rights Investigations. What he does is, and he's done a lot of things. He's open carried in Florida while fishing, which is perfectly legal, by the way. Even though Florida's not an open carry state, as long as you are hunting, fishing, shooting, or camping or in transit to or from, you are allowed to openly carry a firearm with or without a permit, as per 790 Florida statutes. Well, he does this. This is his earlier videos. This is how I got to see him doing it. I'm a big open carry guy. Not as big as open carry guy as I used to be, simply because I understand the tactical advantages of concealed carry. But I digress. I guess as long as you know how to, as long as you know weapons retention, open carry is not that bad. You're not going to get my gun off my hip. I'm going to break your fucking hand if you try. I digress. Jeff Gray now goes around and he'll go stand at libraries and city halls and he'll hold a cardboard sign that says, "God bless our homeless vets." He's not asking for money. He doesn't ask anybody for money. He does it to see what'll happen. He doesn't cuss anybody out. I don't think I've ever really heard Jeff cuss anybody out. As nasty as they have been to him, some of these people, some of these cops, threatening him with all sorts of arrests for this or that, or, trespassing, vagrancy, panhandling. He does none of this. He's polite. He's peaceful. But somehow, some people just don't want to see this guy who's, obviously, if you look at him, he's not homeless. He's clean cut. Hell, I look more homeless than he does, and I promise you I'm not. I got the long hair and the long beard going. But he's polite. He's pleasant. Some people just don't want to leave the man alone. They got to start trouble with him. Some say he's looking for trouble. Well, in a way he is. But let me tell you how he backs it up. He's actually suing several jurisdictions. And he's not wrong. I support the man. But when I see a cop acting so unprofessional in a deposition, and let me explain to y'all what a deposition is. That is a question and answer session that is admissible in court. You generally have a court reporter there taking notes. You have the lawyer for your side, the lawyer for their side. Your lawyer's asking questions. or you if you're representing yourself. I've actually seen some very good pro se depositions. And this is all going to court. A jury is going to look at your depositions. So if you act like an ass, you're not doing yourself any favors. And here's the beautiful thing about it. You know who loses when a city gets sued? The cop don't lose because they're going to indemnify his ass. The taxpayers. The taxpayers. I happen to have friends in Waveland. Many of y'all know I volunteer for WQRZ 103.5. Cut my teeth in broadcasting there. This is got to stop, y'all. We need to hold our public officials accountable. Somebody needs to go to the city hall, go to the city council meeting and demand this guy's badge. This guy's costing you money. I'll find out everything I can about this guy and put it on Front Street. Y'all take care. Anthony Oksenholt, Access 228.
Have a good day.
You too. Have a blessed day. Thank you. Good morning. How are you? God bless our homeless veterans. Good morning. God bless our homeless veterans. Good morning, man. God bless our homeless veterans. Please pray for our homeless vets. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
God bless our homeless veterans. Please pray for our homeless vets.
Hey, here you go.
Oh, thanks. I'm not homeless myself. I just like to come out in public and say God bless homeless veterans.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I'm not taking a minute.
Oh.
But thank you. God bless you. You have a blessed day. Thank you. It's very kind of you. Thank you. Okay.
How you doing, man? You got some ID on you?
Good morning, gentlemen. God bless our homeless veterans.
Yep, I'm a vet too, man.
All right, cool.
Air Force.
All right.
You got your ID on you?
What for?
Vagrancy.
Vagrancy.
Yes, sir. Got several complaints on here that you're begging for food, money, stuff like that.
That's not true.
Okay, well, I'm just out here for that reason.
Okay.
So, do you have your ID on you?
Am I required to give you ID?
Yes, you are.
What would happen if I don't give it to you?
You're going to jail. Period. Go to
Really?
jail. Yeah, really.
Sir, I'm standing on a public sidewalk engaged in constitutionally protected
Correct.
activity.
Correct. But I'm letting you know you're going to go to jail, no questions asked.
Even if I'm standing on a public
Yes,
sidewalk?
yes. How many times do I got to explain it to you?
So if I don't give you ID, I'm
Yes,
going to
you're
jail.
going to jail for failure to identify.
Can I just leave?
If you wish to do so, but I need to identify you.
I don't
first.
wish to do so. I'd like to stay here and
You're
express
not,
my...
You're not going to stay here, period. I'm going to let you know.
Do I have to leave?
Yes,
Why?
because I'm instructing you. I'm giving you a lawful order to leave.
And if I don't leave,
You're going to jail
I'll go to jail.
for
And
failure.
you're Officer Sergeant Joffrion.
Sergeant Joffrion, Officer Andrews.
All right, y'all have a good day.
You got your ID with you?
So if I don't leave, I'll go to jail.
Yep. Give me your ID first.
And if I don't give you ID, I'll go to jail.
Yes.
Even though I've explained to you that I'm engaged in constitutionally protected
I don't
activity.
care if you explain it to me or not.
Safeguarded by the First Amendment, which is
Okay.
freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and freedom of assembly on a traditional public forum, the steps of City Hall.
Correct.
I'm
Yes.
not begging for
You got
money.
your ID?
I'm not begging for money.
Okay. You got your ID.
Do I need to show you my ID?
You need to show me your ID. Yes, sir.
Or what?
You're going to jail.
Well, you guys, I tell you, man. I'm gonna put you on notice before I show you my ID and before you do all this.
No, you're gonna show me your ID right now.
Okay.
Then you can do whatever you wish after that.
You guys are idiots,
All right.
man.
Okay, that's your opinion.
You guys really are
Central
dumb,
Florida
dumb as a
deal.
bag of hammers.
Okay, that's perfectly
Let
fine.
me get back up here. I'm trying to leave.
George 600-433-700081.
Is my ID going to tell you if I'm committing a crime or not?
433-700081.
What
Doesn't
is-
matter if you commit a crime or not. You have to identify in reference to a complaint because you're violating.
You know, you need to have reasonable articulable suspicion that a crime is afoot. You
Okay,
didn't.
I do have reasonable suspicion. I just instructed you. So,
Vagrancy?
yeah.
What ordinance is that?
City ordinance. Go
Even
look it
though
up.
I've explained to you that I'm
You
engaged
don't
in
need to-
constitutionally
you
protected.
don't need to explain anything to me because I literally don't care.
Wow.
I'm not here in reference to a complaint
All right.
by the mayor of this city.
By the mayor.
By the mayor of this city.
Okay.
If you have any complaints, you can send me an email, call him later on.
You know what? At this point, I'm gonna remain silent because this is obviously you guys.
This isn't some free will state, man. This is how it is in the state of Mississippi.
So you don't have freedom in the state of Mississippi.
If you don't like it, you can go back to Florida. Period.
All right. Well, let me have my ID and I'll go back to Florida.
I'll give you ID once it comes back.
I don't want to go to jail. And you're a veteran.
I'm a veteran. Yes.
What
sir.
did you serve?
Huh?
Where did you serve?
That's none of your business.
All right. Did you take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution when you served?
I absolutely did.
Yeah, and you're not doing that right now.
Okay, that's your
Did you
opinion.
take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution when
that
you
is your opinion.
became a cop?
That is your opinion.
Then you're not doing it right now.
That's your opinion.
Who you guys have a supervisor?
I'm the supervisor.
I better start recording this.
You can start recording. We've been recording the whole time since we made contact.
Told you I'm not panhandling. I'm just coming out saying God bless the homeless veteran on this public sidewalk at the steps of City Hall. You don't care. I'm going to jail.
I just say you was going to jail.
You never said I was going to jail? Oh boy, I wish I was recording before. You guys said you're recording?
Yep.
Can you get body camera videos in the state of Mississippi through a public record request?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
Central to Waveland 14.
Go ahead.
10-4, that 27 is going to come back to a Marcus Jeffrey, valid, negative 29, so negative 4s.
Come on. All right, Mr. Jeffrey, you're free to go.
Pretty good. Can I
All
stay?
No, you cannot stay. You got to go.
So if I don't go, I'll go to jail.
All right. You're a lawful order not to come back. Have a good evening.
Great. Please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give and the following clause to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Good morning, Sergeant Joffrion. My name is Reed Marks. I'm here to take your deposition today. Would you begin by giving us your full name?
Sgt Joffrion.
You don't have a middle name?
No, sir.
Okay. And I'm gonna hand you a pad, and I'd ask you to put your name, your address, and phone number on this. The reason I'm not doing it on the record is because I expect that this deposition will end up being filed with the court, and as such, it would be publicly available. I don't want you to get doxxed. So would you mind writing your name, address, and phone number?
And we're reserving all objections up to the form just for the record.
You put your number on there? I can't. It's upside down.
No, we'll ask, will any of this information get released out to public?
No, that's why I'm asking you to write it on a separate sheet of paper.
Okay.
Let me make clear, what are we doing with the, is this being recorded or is this just for, your client's ability to view the deposition?
Both.
So is, so is this recording, you plan to put this on the internet or something?
No, I'm not planning to put it anywhere, but I'm recording it because I'm also videotaping it and the rules allow me to do so.
Because my thing is, I've been threatened.
Just stop. Do you have the notice that was filed?
I do not.
Do you have the notice?
I do. But more importantly, let me just point out the local rule says that I can record this.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any objection to obviously it being recorded, but just for everybody's benefit on here, if somebody's planning to release this or put it on the internet or something like that, then, we're gonna file a undue publicity motion. So, a motion for a protective order. So I just want to be clear and put everybody on notice of that, but go ahead.
Mhm. Have you used any other phone number since this incident with Mr. Gray, other than the one that you just wrote down? All right, Sergeant Joffrion, I think you know what we're here about. Have you reviewed the body cam footage that was obtained during your interaction with Mr. Gray?
Yes,
When was the last time that you reviewed that?
yesterday.
So would you say that you're comfortable with the contents of that video, or do you need to see it again to refresh your recollection?
I'm good.
Now, during that interaction, you made a statement that Mr. Gray didn't need to explain anything to you because I literally don't care. Do you remember saying that?
Correct.
And then you further stated, I'm here in reference to a complaint by the mayor of this city. Is that correct?
Correct.
And at whose request were you there? The name of the person?
Say that again.
You said that I'm here in reference to a complaint by the mayor of this city.
Okay.
Who is that?
Sgt Joffrion, the mayor.
And did he call you directly to make that complaint?
No.
So how were you there in reference to a complaint by the mayor? How did that get routed to you?
I'll explain that a little bit better.
The mayor didn't call you.
No.
You showed up with Mr. Gray and said that you're here in reference to a complaint by the mayor. Connect those dots for me. How did his complaint that wasn't made to you get routed to you so that you were the one responding?
Investigator Eddie Hersey called me.
Called you on what device?
Cell phone.
This cell phone number that you gave me?
Correct.
And what internet provider is this?
AT&T.
Is this a personal device?
Yes.
So, I'm sorry, what did you say Mr. Hersey's title was?
Investigator, chief investigator.
The Waveland Police Department Chief Investigator, Mr. Hersey, called you on your personal cell phone to do what? What did he say?
He said a male was harassing the clerks inside of the city hall, peeping through windows, and then went outside and stood on the sidewalk.
Is it standard for you to receive calls, dispatch instructions on a personal cell phone?
Yes, it happens.
How often does that happen?
I couldn't tell you.
Would you be able to say whether it's more often than not?
Check to the form.
So you don't know if it's more or less than 50%.
Here and there, depending on situations, complaints.
Why would Chief Investigator Hersey call you on your personal cell phone for police business?
You would have to ask him.
Do you make police business or police related phone calls from your personal cell phone?
As far as what?
Anything having to do with your connection and your employment with the Waveland Police Department. Do you make those calls from your personal cell phone?
Yes, by a different phone number.
What's the different phone number?
There's some kind of police app that I use. If I would call like I don't know, follow up with something. I'm not even sure of the number. It's auto generated.
What's the name of the app?
1021.
And so your testimony is that that phone number changes?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, you need a yes.
Yes.
And you make those calls through the app on your personal cell phone.
Correct.
If someone calls back the number that appears as the outgoing number, following me? If you call someone using this app and it has a randomly generated number and someone calls that back, does that get routed to you?
I'm not sure. I've never had anybody call me back.
So I'm going to go back to a previous question. I asked you if you'd used any different phone number. And while you may not have had a different mobile account, your testimony is now that you've used many different phone numbers in your employment. How would we get a list of those phone numbers that you have used?
I have no idea.
All right. Is this app 1021 a subscription?
I'm not sure.
How did you get this app 1021?
Downloaded it.
Did you have to create an account?
It's been so long ago, I don't recall.
How long have you been using this app?
5+ years.
Is this something that the Waveland Police Department knows you use?
No.
It's not something they encouraged you to use then?
No.
To your knowledge, does anyone else use this app?
Yes.
Is it common?
What is what coming?
Is it common among the Waveland Police Department?
I don't know.
Right. Well, who do you know that uses this app?
I don't know either. I just know it was recommended.
By whom?
I don't know. Officers in the past that I came in contact with.
At the Waveland Police Department or somewhere else?
I'm unsure.
How long have you been employed at the Waveland Police Department?
Somewhere around 3 years. Before then, another agency. Before then, Waveland again. So a total 7, 8 years in law enforcement, if I can recall correctly. Not 100% positive how long to the day.
So you worked for Waveland twice. What was the other agency?
Harrison County Sheriff's Office.
Approximately how long did you work for the sheriff's department?
I'm not sure.
In the aggregate, how long have you worked at Waveland Police Department?
I'm not sure.
But you believe approximately 7 to 8 years total law enforcement experience.
Correct.
Did you go to a law enforcement academy?
Correct.
Where?
Harrison County.
Do you know what year?
2018.
You said that you watched the body cam footage yesterday. Having reviewed that within the last 24 hours, is there anything that you thought you could have done better?
I could have handled
Object to the form.
What's the objection?
You can,
No, hold on. What's the objection?
you're asking him to speculate.
No, I'm not asking you to speculate.
If you're comfortable with the question, then let him answer.
No,
I'm gonna
I'm
object
gonna-
to it. If I don't agree with the question, then I'm gonna object to the form. And if you're
And-
comfortable, you can stand on your question. If you're not, you can rephrase it. That's how
And-
this works.
No. I'm entitled to know the basis for the objection as to the form. You said all objections, except as to the form of the question, are reserved. And now when I ask you for the basis of your objection, you said it's asking him to speculate. That's reserved. That's not in a form of the question. So what's the objection to the form of the question?
You're asking the question that I think is requiring him to speculate. If you're comfortable with the question, he should continue to answer the question.
Go ahead and answer the question.
Repeat the question.
Is there anything that you think you could have done better?
I could have handled it a little different.
How?
Could have reworded some things.
What things?
I can't recall off the top of my head.
Do you need to watch the video again?
No, I don't.
So if your testimony is that you could have reworded some things, but you don't know what things,
I know what things.
what things?
Just handled it better. Talked a little different.
How?
I don't know. I'm not in those shoes right now.
Well, part of this is we have the benefit of hindsight. We also have the benefit of having reviewed what happened. I don't know how many times you've watched the video, at least once. But other than rewording some things, and you can't say which things, you can't tell me anything that you would have done differently or done better.
Same objection.
Well, I have to think on that.
Well, how can you say that there are things you would have done, but I can't answer the question as to what they would have been?
I just know I could have handled it better, but it will give me time to think on it.
Right. So, did you make any mistakes?
No.
This is a different question, but similar. Do you deny making any mistakes?
Object to the form.
Rewrote the question for me.
Do you deny making any mistakes in your interaction with Mr. Gray?
Same objection.
You're asking the same thing. You know, I have to rephrase it.
And it's not the same thing. Do you deny making any mistakes with Mr. Gray?
I'm not getting what you're saying. Have to break it down for me.
My first question was, do you admit to making any mistakes? And you answered that in the negative. Now my question is phrased differently, whether you deny making any mistakes.
I did not make any mistakes.
Right. Tell me what the elements of vagrancy are.
Check to the phone.
I can't think of off the top of my head right now. I'm not
Tell me
aware.
what you recall. Tell me what you recall are the elements of the crime of vagrancy.
I can't recall. I don't know the laws by heart. I just know what certain crimes are. I'm not a lawyer.
So what is the crime of vagrancy?
I can't say it verbatim. Give you.
I'm not asking verbatim. I'm asking you to tell me, you said you just know what the laws are. What is the crime of vagrancy?
Can't answer that right now on top of my head.
Well, you accused Mr. Gray of vagrancy the moment you stepped out of your cruiser. What were you accusing him of doing?
Harassing customers.
So is vagrancy harassing?
I didn't mention that to him.
I didn't ask that. Is vagrancy harassing? Is that what you think the crime of vagrancy is? So what is the crime of vagrancy?
I can't think of it off the top of my head right now.
You don't know what the crime of vagrancy is, do you?
If I had that statute in front of me, I could then tell you.
Are you aware that the statute had been repealed 5 years before you accused Mr. Gray of vagrancy?
Correct.
All right, so how did he commit the crime of vagrancy? How could he possibly have committed a crime that had been repealed 5 years ago that you can't even define?
I'm gonna object to the argumentative nature of these questions. I would ask you to calm down a little bit when you're asking the questions.
I didn't arrest him or identify him off of vagrancy.
Do we need to watch the video?
If you want to watch it, you can. I'm not.
Well, let's watch the beginning of the video. Up to this point that we're talking about with vagrancy. That was you speaking, correct?
Correct.
And he asked you why you needed to see identification, and you said vagrancy.
Okay.
All right. So what is vagrancy?
I'm not a lawyer.
But you are a law enforcement officer
Correct.
that was dispatched by Chief Investigator Hersey for harassing and peeping through windows.
Correct.
And not the first, but near the first word out of your mouth is vagrancy, which we've already established is a crime that was repealed 5 years earlier.
Correct.
So I'm trying to understand, Mr. Joffrion, why you approached Mr. Gray, who's standing there holding a sign, and accused him of vagrancy.
How did I accuse him of it?
He asked why you would need identification, and you responded vagrancy. Do we need to play this again?
You can play it.
Do you need to see it again to know that that's what
I
happened?
don't need to say anything.
So you did accuse him of vagrancy.
I didn't accuse him of vagrancy.
So why would you say the word vagrancy?
I don't know.
Well, who would know?
Can't answer that.
Then you respond that you had received several complaints that Mr. Gray was begging for food, money, stuff like that. And you had not personally observed Mr. Gray begging for food, money, or anything of the sort, had you?
Negative.
Had you, who had you received a complaint from that he was begging for food, money, and stuff like that?
That would be, I don't know.
Well, you said you got several complaints that he was begging, but you don't know who any of the several complaints are.
I didn't receive any complaints that he was begging for money.
Well, where did you get the
Begging for
information?
food.
I'm sorry. Where did you get the information that there had been several complaints that he was begging for food, money, and stuff like that?
Top of my head.
So you hadn't received several complaints.
I have received several complaints.
Then
that
who
he was
made?
harassing people.
But that's not what we're talking about, not harassing. You said several complaints, begging for food, money, stuff like that. Who were the several complainants?
Who knows? I don't know.
So what was your basis of your statement that there were several complaints? He was begging for food, money, and stuff like that.
Harassing customers.
What customers?
I'm not sure. Whatever's listed on the report and the statements we have.
There's not any name on here besides the ones that we've talked about.
Okay.
So there's your name, Investigator Hersey, and the mayor. There's no complaint. Who is the complainant that he was begging for food, money, and stuff like that?
You should have statements. Complaints on them.
What would those statements look like?
Witness statements, complaints.
Well, who made a witness statement? I don't have one.
I don't know.
So you said to Mr. Gray that you had received several complaints that he was begging for food, money, stuff like that, and he responded, "That's not true." And you said, "Well, I'm just out here for that reason," and again asked for identification.
Mhm.
I need a yes.
Yes.
All right. And he asked you whether he was required to provide identification, and you responded that he was. And he asked, "If I don't, what will happen?" And you said, "You're going to jail, period." Do you
Yes.
recall saying that?
Yes.
All right. So what were you going to take Mr. Gray to jail for if he did not provide you identification?
Failure to comply
Failure to comply with what?
with the lawful order.
And what was the lawful order?
Identification.
Under what circumstances are you entitled to demand identification from a person?
Reasonable suspicion that a crime occurred.
All right. And what reasonable suspicion did you have that he had committed a crime?
Harassing customers. Peeping through windows. Repeatedly asking people for money.
All right. But you just told me that you're not aware of one single person.
I don't know their names.
Well, who did you speak to? Where did you interact with these persons?
Beforehand, I didn't.
All right. So how did you have a reasonably articulable suspicion that he had committed a crime if you had not spoken to one single person, can't identify one single complainant, and had no personal knowledge of anything about begging for food or vagrancy?
Objections. No question.
I did have information that he was begging for money and harassing customers.
What information?
From what investigator Hersey told me.
And is that phone call recorded anywhere?
No, it's not.
You don't know what device he called you on, but you received the call on a personal cell phone.
Correct.
And Those calls, are they recorded?
I'm not, my profession isn't telecoms.
Well, do you know if on your end the phone call was recorded?
No, it's not.
And you had, from Investigator Hersey, you weren't provided any names. Did you have any details about the people that Mr. Gray was supposedly harassing?
No.
All right. Uh, so the crime that you were investigating at that point was harassment?
Correct.
In your criminal case report, this is Bates labeled defendant 15 and 16. Well, let me first provide you a copy of that. Is that your report?
Yes.
You prepared that.
Yes.
In that report, under crime description and code section, we have 97-3-107, stalking, following, harassing, threatening.
Yes.
What are the elements of that crime?
I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. I would have to look at the state statute.
Did you look at the state statute when you prepared this report?
Yes, I did.
And where would you get a copy of that state statute?
Through the state statute book.
Is that something maintained at the police department?
Correct.
And you reviewed it after the interaction with Mr. Gray?
I reviewed it several times before the interaction. But yes, to answer your question, after.
So let me rephrase that, just to make sure we're saying the same thing. This wasn't the first time you had ever looked at that statute, but you reviewed it again after your interaction with Mr. Gray.
Correct.
And you can't, as we're sitting here today, articulate any of the elements of harassment?
Not off the top of my head, no.
And when you were or had reasonable suspicion that Mr. Gray had committed the crime of harassment, what course of conduct directed a specific person were you aware of?
I'm not getting what you're saying.
Well, that's one of the elements of the crime. To be guilty of this crime that you cited in your report, there has to be a course of conduct directed at a specific person.
Okay.
What course of conduct directed at what specific person were you investigating?
Whatever statements the Waveland Police Department obtained from those victims.
But you had no knowledge of that.
I had knowledge.
Okay. Who was this specific person?
I can't name them
Well, where are they
off the
named?
top of my head.
Where are they named? They're not in your report.
They're in the statements that should be in your file.
I don't have any statements.
I don't
What,
know.
have you seen those
I
statements?
have.
Well, let's pause. Do you have the statements?
Yeah, I got things.
Have you produced them?
Pretty sure.
Well, what would be the Bates numbers of those?
Reed, you should have my document production.
I do.
Well, then look through the document production. I mean, we've done disclosures. The time has not expired for us to do written discovery. You wanted to go into the deposition before you got all that. So here we are.
You're telling me that you have the reports now, and I'm asking you to help me identify them because I can't find them. Would it be contained in a CAD detail report? What would these statements look like, Mr. Joffrion?
I can't describe them, to be honest with you. Just statements.
Is there any specific form that they would come in?
Just say Waveland Police Department statement.
I'm sure you produced the statements. In your disclosures.
I'm willing to be
Yeah, I'm pretty
corrected,
sure.
but I don't know why I
One
would
from
have.
Lisa Ladner, there's one from Aaron Pusley, there's one from Julie Bromley.
What are the base numbers there?
I don't see a base number on there. Did you use base numbers?
I mean, I don't have those reports unless, I mean, I don't think I have those. And I don't think that they were produced in the disclosures of the defendants. Do you think that this might have come from that public records request from the other person?
I'm sure there is a part of that, yeah. There was a lot of documentation if I remember that production.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I didn't have anything to do with that. In fact, just FYI, that guy sent that stuff to me unsolicited. So I produced everything we had. Is that the type of report that you would, all right. So this is within whatever the public records were produced by the city to a public records request generated by, what was that gentleman's name? He goes by Hattiesburg Civil Discourse. Joshua Hodge. So have you reviewed those statements from Ms. Ladner and others?
Correct.
I'm sorry, yes?
Yes.
When did you review those?
Whenever they were obtained, I'm not sure which date or time that they were obtained.
Well, when were they obtained in relation to the writing of your report?
I'm not sure.
So you don't know if you saw them before or after the report. Did you see them before or after this videotape interaction with Mr. Gray?
I can't recall. It's been over a year ago.
You don't know if you saw the written statements of the witnesses before you got out of the cruiser and approached Mr. Gray?
I did not see the statements before then. No.
Okay. So at the time you were interacting with Mr. Gray, you were not aware of any conduct directed at a specific person.
Yes.
You had a report from Mr. Halsey, but you did not know the specific person's name.
I didn't know the specific person's name.
All right. And were you aware of any credible threat asserted by Mr. Gray towards a person?
Negative.
And what was the course of conduct that was considered harassing to this person that we don't know?
Whatever they stated.
But at the time you were investigating Mr. Gray, demanding his identification for the reasonably articulable suspicion of the crime of harassment, you had no information about the course of conduct because you had not seen any of the reports.
Objection to the form.
Isn't that correct?
Repeat what you just said.
So I asked you about the course of conduct, and you said something like whatever they said. And we've already established that you had not seen any of the reports at the point that you were interacting with Mr. Gray. So how could you be investigating whatever they said when you didn't have that information?
Because of the complaint that came.
And that was routed to you from Hersey. Was there any specific information provided by Chief Investigator Hersey about the conduct that would constitute harassment?
Would be Investigator Hersey. But he did not further explain. He just stated it was harassing, peeping through windows, so on and so forth.
Well, we've got peeping through windows and harassing. That's all we've got at this point.
Harassing is a crime.
The elements of which you can't articulate now.
Not off the top of my head.
Did you suspect or have any reasonably articulable suspicion that Mr. Gray had any sort of weapon?
I have no idea.
I know that, but that wasn't my question. I'm not asking you if you knew he did. I asked you if you had any reasonably articulable suspicion that he did.
I can't answer that. I don't know off the top of my head. At that moment, what was running through my head? It's not a crime to have a weapon.
I understand that. But today, you're not able to say that at the time you interacted with Mr. Gray, you did or did not have a suspicion that he had a weapon.
Reword that a little bit so I can better understand it.
Did you have any basis to believe that Mr. Gray had a weapon?
I would perceive that he would, just for my general safety and my fellow officers, we treat anybody that they have access to a weapon.
Well, I assume every person is armed as well, but that's not the same thing as having a reason to believe that you are armed right now because I saw the firearm on your right hip.
Okay.
I'm not asking if you make the assumption or the default position is that people are armed. I understand that. I'm asking, did you have any reasonable belief that Mr. Gray was armed, other than just the default that you're going to treat everyone as if they're armed until you prove otherwise?
I'm gonna stick with that answer. Treat everybody like they're armed.
All right. So I'm going to assume, unless you tell me differently, that you didn't have any particular reason to believe that he was armed.
I didn't say that.
You did not say that either. So I'm going to move on. Now, what person or what evidence did you have to believe that Mr. Gray was stalking someone?
The report of it through Chief Investigator Hersey.
The peeping through windows and harassing.
Same thing.
Because that's the same thing as stalking.
No, I did not say that. I said the same person that reported the stalking, same thing as, I'm saying, peeping Tom and stalking, harassing.
And yet we don't know who that person was.
Who person? Which
that
person?
reported the peeping and the stalking.
To who?
You don't know who that person was.
To who?
To you or Hersey?
Never.
You also said that you were investigating Mr. Gray in your report for violation of Waveland City Ordinance 82-1, peddling. What constitutes the crime of peddling?
I can't think of it off the top of my head. I don't recall.
How could you be investigating Mr. Gray for peddling if you don't know what peddling is?
I knew what it was then, but I'll have to refresh my memory.
What caused it to be fresh in your memory on May 30th, 2023 at approximately 9:46 a.m. that it's not fresh October 9, 2024?
I have no idea.
Your testimony is that on May 30th, 2023, you knew what the crime of peddling consisted of.
Correct. Not a crime, city ordinance.
Whatever peddling may be, is committing that not a crime?
I'm not a lawyer. Just a law enforcement officer.
But you wrote a report, Mr. Joffrion, that said crime description peddling.
Correct.
So according to your report, you were investigating Mr. Gray for peddling.
Stalking, harassing.
Well, it's both.
Yeah, correct.
What constitutes the elements of a violation of city ordinance number 38?
I have no idea. Not off the top of my head. I don't recall.
Did you know on May 30th, 2023?
I don't recall either where my mind was or what I was thinking.
Sergeant Joffrion was advised that that there had been several complaints regarding him asking for money, parentheses, violation of city ordinance number 38, in paren, and harassing residents. And you have no idea what city ordinance 38 is.
I'll have to go back and look at it.
Why did you describe Mr. Gray as argumentative?
Because he wouldn't provide identification.
Well, he had explained to you that he didn't believe he was obligated to provide you with identification under the circumstances, correct?
Correct.
And he said, what was his reason that he gave you why he didn't think that he had to provide you with identification?
That's your client. I'm not sure.
No, that's not what I asked. What was the reason that he gave you?
I'm not sure. I don't recall.
All right, let's go back to the video then.
I'm not sure. I got the ball.
So what did he say there to you about the identification? What was his explanation?
Something along the lines standing on the sidewalk.
Engaged in what?
Freedom of speech. Is that what he said? I can't recall.
Free expression. We'll call it the same thing. him asserting his rights, saying that he was on a public sidewalk engaged in constitutionally protective activity. Is that what you termed argumentative?
No, just failing to identify.
What policy or practice authorizes you to demand identification from someone the moment that you interact with them?
Policy as far as what?
What policy or practice or law or any other authority authorizes you to approach someone and immediately demand identification
Reasonable suspicion.
of commission of a crime?
Right.
And in this case, the crime that you reasonably suspected had been committed was harassment.
Right.
Anything else?
I don't know what he did other than that.
All right. So it wasn't stalking.
Could have been.
It wasn't peddling.
Well, I have to look further into it. I'm not the investigator.
No,
I was just
I'm
investigating.
not asking about what he might have done that you could have figured out later. I'm talking about 5 seconds into this transcript. You said that you were entitled to ask him for identification because you reasonably suspected he had committed the crime of harassment. And I just want to make sure that there was no other crime that you suspected he might have committed.
I don't know his intentions.
I'm not asking about his intentions, Sergeant Joffrion. I'm asking what you knew. I'm asking exclusively what you knew or suspected at the time that you approached Mr. Gray.
Stalking, harassing, so
But not peddling.
I'll have to go back and look at the city ordinance.
And we don't know what City Ordinance 38 is.
I'll have to go back and look at the city ordinance book.
But right now, you don't know what that is.
I don't recall.
And then your report also says, in reference to a male harassing citizens and panhandling.
Right.
Is panhandling a crime?
Panhandling?
Yes.
What's the definition of a panhandling?
Well, that was going to be my next question to you. My first question, though, is panhandling a crime?
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not sure.
Well, you described his conduct as panhandling. What is panhandling?
I'm not sure. I'm not a lawyer.
Well, what were you describing in your report where you use that word?
Been over a year ago. I'm not sure. I don't recall.
Do you need to review the report to refresh your recollection?
Negative.
So even reviewing your report now, having seen the body cam video in the last 24 hours, you can't say what you were talking about with panhandling.
Can't remember. I can't recall.
So you demanded identification under reasonable suspicion that he had been harassing or stalking people. And then you admit that you said if he didn't provide the identification, he was going to jail, period. Correct?
Correct.
And can you cite to me a policy, procedure, law, or ordinance that authorizes you to demand identification for a person you reasonably suspected, at least that's your testimony, of harassment and stalking?
I'll have to go back and look at the law book. Don't remember.
So you can't cite to me now.
Right now, off the top of my head, no.
Then you said you're going to jail for failure to identify. What ordinance or state code section is the crime of failure to identify?
There isn't one.
Right. Why would you say that you're going to jail for failure to identify?
It does. Oh no.
And then Mr. Gray says, can I just leave? You said, if you wish to do so, but I need to identify you first. Do you agree with me at that point, Mr. Gray was not free to leave?
He was detained because he's been investigated of a possible crime.
So he was not free to leave. He was being detained.
Yes.
And if he had attempted to leave, what would have happened?
Went to jail.
Mr. Gray said that he would like to stay there. Do you remember saying that you're not going to stay here, period?
Sure.
And why was Mr. Gray not permitted to stay there?
I can't recall.
Was Mr. Gray on a public sidewalk?
Yes.
Is City Hall a public property?
Yes.
Why was he not free to stay there and continue what he was doing?
I'm not sure.
But you told him that he wasn't. And now you don't know why you said it.
Correct. Been over a year ago.
Then he asked why he had to leave, and you said, because I'm instructing you. I'm giving you a lawful order to leave. You remember saying that?
Yes.
All right. What was your authority for a, quote, lawful order that he must leave the public sidewalk on the public city hall?
Sure.
Then you told him that if he didn't leave, he was going to jail again. Do you remember saying that?
I don't recall.
Let's. It's going to be Mr. Gray, he turned and attempted to walk away, correct?
Correct.
And then you called him back, right? Because he was detained.
Correct.
You, did you see where you said if he didn't give identification, he was going to jail?
Correct.
And in your report, you said Sergeant Joffrion advised if he did not leave, he was going to jail for disorderly conduct. What is the crime of disorderly conduct?
I don't have the law book in front of me.
Who was he disturbing?
That's why I was investigating.
What conduct was he committing that was disorderly?
That's why I was investigating.
What conduct did you observe that had breached the peace?
That's why I was investigating.
No. What conduct had you observed that was a breach of the peace?
I didn't observe any conduct.
What conduct were you investigating that was a breach of the peace?
What's in the report? Stalking, harassing.
Panhandling, city ordinance number 38, peddling, none of which we can define. Mr. Gray ultimately provided you with his identification, correct?
Correct.
And what did you do once you received his identification?
Ran his information.
Ran it through what?
Hancock County Dispatch.
And do you know what databases they queried?
Not understand what you said.
You provided his, I believe it was his driver's license number to dispatch, correct?
Correct.
And they did something with it. Do you know what they did with it?
I don't work in dispatch.
That's not what I asked.
No.
For what purpose did you provide that information to dispatch?
Say that again.
For what purpose did you provide Mr. Gray's driver's license number to dispatch?
To obtain his information.
What information?
His personal information.
What information?
His information.
What?
His information.
I don't know what that means. What information?
His information. I'm gonna keep it as that.
You can't answer what information you were trying to obtain.
His basic information. His name, date of birth, all that.
So his name, his date of birth. Did you want his address?
No, I didn't want his address.
You had his name on his driver's license, correct? Had his date of birth on the driver's license as well. Even though you said you didn't want his address, that was on the driver's license as well. So for what purpose did you provide his driver's license number to dispatch?
Reason suspicion that is committed crime.
What was dispatch going to do with it?
I don't know.
All right, we can quit beating around the bush, Mr. Joffrion. You provided that number to dispatch so that they could run a background check on Mr. Gray, correct?
Correct.
To see if he had any outstanding warrants, correct?
That was not the sole purpose. No.
I didn't ask if it was the sole purpose. Was it a purpose?
What do you mean?
Did you provide that information to dispatch to determine whether Mr. Gray had any outstanding warrants?
Primarily, or is it additional information?
For any reason?
For any reason to arrest him because he had a warrant? I'm not sure what you're saying.
I'm asking, I'm still trying to understand why you provided the information to dispatch if you wanted to know who he was and his date of birth, which was in the piece of laminated paper in your hand.
I advise you the other reason.
To get his basic information.
Correct.
But you already had his basic information. It was in your hand.
Okay.
So why would you go to another step of providing that to someone else if you weren't trying to run a background check on him?
I did not run a background check on him.
You asked dispatch to do that, didn't they?
No.
They didn't?
No.
You said, I'll give you your ID once it comes back. Comes back from where?
Dispatch.
So again, what were you waiting on dispatch to come back with?
His information.
What information?
His personal information.
His name
That's what I just said a few minutes ago.
and his date of birth,
Correct.
which you already had. So what information were you waiting for dispatch to come back with that you did not already have?
So they could log him on a CAD for report purposes.
Now, what is CAD?
I'm not sure.
What is CAD used for?
Reports and along other things.
What other things?
I don't know.
To your knowledge, was a warrants check performed on Mr. Gray?
I don't know. I don't work in dispatch.
To your knowledge, was a background check of Mr. Gray performed?
To my knowledge, no.
Your report says Sergeant Joffrion advised that if he did not leave, that he was going to jail for disorderly conduct. I can play the whole video for you again with Sergeant Joffrion if you'd like.
That's fine.
But at no point in this approximately 5-minute video do you use or ever utter the word disorderly conduct.
Okay.
So would you agree with me that your report is inaccurate when you said that you advised him he was going to jail for disorderly conduct?
No.
Would you, how could that not be inaccurate if you never said the word disorderly conduct?
I don't know.
Do you remember saying the word disorderly conduct in your interaction with Mr. Gray?
It's been over a year ago. I don't remember a lot of things.
I'm sorry, I need a straight answer to that question. Yes or no?
Repeat the question.
Do you remember advising Mr. Joffrion in your interaction that he would go to jail for disorderly conduct?
Do I remember saying that?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you remember when in this interaction you said that?
No.
What you just said, then, it doesn't matter whether you committed a crime or not. You have to identify. Do you believe that to be an accurate statement of the law?
Yes. To the form. Reword that.
No, I'm not going to reword it.
Then I'm not going to answer it.
Read it back.
You just said there, it doesn't matter whether you committed a crime or not. You have to identify. Do you believe that to be an accurate statement of the law?
Yeah, I have to have reasonable suspicion to identify someone.
Okay, we're back to vagrancy.
Okay.
He asked you what crime you were investigating. You said vagrancy right there. You heard it, correct? Not harassing, not stalking. You didn't say that.
Okay.
All right. And we've already established that vagrancy is not a crime, correct? So you couldn't have been investigating him for the crime of vagrancy when there is no such crime, correct?
Correct.
Now, you just said there, I never said you were going to jail. That wasn't true, was it?
No, it wasn't.
All right, there, Mr. Gray asked you if it was possible to obtain body cam footage, and you said absolutely not. Correct?
Correct.
That's not true either, is it?
Jack to the form.
No.
Okay. The dispatcher just said something. -29. What did you catch what she said?
Not really.
Let's try to play it back. What did she say? -29? What does that mean?
You would add that, you would dispatch.
What does -4 mean?
You have to with dispatch.
You don't know what it means.
Not the top of my head, no.
So your testimony today under oath is that when she said comes back to Marcus Jeffrey valid -29, -4, you did not know what she meant.
I knew what it meant then.
But you don't know what it means today.
No.
Are you still a sergeant with the Waveland Police Department?
Correct.
And so if I called you over the radio or dispatch called you over the radio and said valid -29, -4, you would not know what that means today.
Probably so. Not right now, though.
Why do you not know right now?
Tired.
At the conclusion of the video, you said, I'm giving you a lawful order not to come back. I think we've established that you can't cite to me any law or statute or ordinance that authorize you to provide that lawful order, correct?
Jack to the form.
Repeat the question.
You can't cite to me any authority that lets you, as a sergeant for the Waveland Police Department, to give a lawful order not to come back to public property.
No.
Is that Waveland Police Department or City of Waveland, Mississippi policy to tell people that they can't return to public property?
Jack to the form.
No.
Well, how many occasions have you told someone that they can't return to public property?
I have no idea, to be honest with you.
More than once?
I have no idea.
You don't know if you've told any person other than Mr. Gray.
Don't know, sir.
Well, what was your basis for telling Mr. Gray that he couldn't stay there, that he had to leave the property under a lawful order?
I don't recall.
You didn't have any authority to tell Mr. Gray that he couldn't stay or that he had to leave the property, did you?
No.
At this point, you said that you had been investigating Mr. Gray for harassment and stalking. The dispatcher comes back, she gives these codes that you don't know what they mean,
Correct.
and you tell him that he is free to leave but not free to stay.
Correct.
Had that concluded your investigation for the harassment and stalking?
Mine?
Yes. You said that you had reasonably articulable suspicion that he had committed the crime, was committing the crime of harassment or stalking.
No.
What additional investigation did you perform after telling Mr. Gray he had to leave the premises?
Got in contact with the complainant originally.
And who was the original complainant?
The name.
Now, when
I would say secondary complainant.
So when I asked you earlier in this deposition who the complainant was,
The original complainants? I don't know.
so did you go speak with the mayor right then after Mr. Gray left?
Correct.
Is that on body cam?
No.
Why not?
Because it wasn't in the scope of my duties as citizens of call. Let me reword that. Wasn't like general public interaction.
What is the department's policy on activating the body cams?
I can't recall off the top of my head.
So you don't know when you're supposed to activate them,
I can't recall off the top of my head.
and you're a supervisor at the Waveland Police Department.
Absolutely.
You've been continuously employed by Waveland Police Department since May 30th, 2023.
Absolutely.
And you don't know the policy on body cams.
Not off the top of my head.
How can you perform your job as a sergeant and supervisor at Waveland Police Department if you don't know the policy?
I don't know. You tell me.
Have you ever been called to City Hall for a person speaking, demonstrating, engaging in expressive conduct?
I don't.
How many other people have you accused of vagrancy besides Mr. Gray?
I don't recall.
Is it city policy to tell people if you don't like it, you can go back to Florida, period?
I don't recall.
How many other people have you told if they don't like it, they can go back to where they came from?
I don't recall.
You said Mississippi isn't some free will state. What is a free will state?
I have no idea.
What did you mean when you said Mississippi isn't a free will state?
I don't recall.
Other than this report that you have in front of you, consisting of 2 pages, did you write any other reports related to this event?
I don't recall.
Are you aware of any other reports related to this event besides yours and the one from Eddie Hersey?
I don't recall.
And Mr. Joffrion, when we started the deposition, we're talking about your biographical information. You mentioned that you had received a number of threats from people. Yes.
Yes.
Any of those threats you believe were made by my client?
I'm not the judgment of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but that's not what I asked. Do you have a reason to believe that my client had made any of those threats?
Yes. I said that.
Which threats do you think that Mr. Gray made?
I'm not sure.
When?
When what?
When did Mr. Gray make a threat that you attribute to him?
I didn't actually say he made a threat. I assumed it or has.
And what's that assumption based on?
Everything related to this incident.
You can't cite to anything specific that would lead you to believe that Mr. Gray had threatened you?
We wrote that.
I don't know how to better ask that. You don't have any, you said that you assume Mr. Gray had threatened you. And I'm asking you to provide any information that would lead you to that assumption.
Do I have information pertaining to that?
Anything that would cause you to believe Mr. Gray had threatened you.
Yes, our interaction.
And what was it about the interaction that led you to believe that Mr. Gray had threatened you?
His failure to comply originally.
When you asked for identification?
Argumentative, like I stated in the report.
Do you have any emails or phone messages or phone calls, phone logs, anything of that sort that you could trace back to Mr. Gray?
Not directly.
I mean, I don't deny the fact that a lot of people saw this video and a lot of people were really mad about this video.
Correct.
And some of those people are crazy.
Correct.
I don't countenance people threatening anyone, law enforcement, you in this particular situation.
Thank you.
But and that's part of the reason that I want to protect your privacy. I saw a lot of that too. A lot of people directed some serious vitriol your way. My concern, though, is simply my client, and whether you have any reason to believe that he was the actor or the instigator of that, other than publishing his YouTube channel.
Instigator, I think so.
Anything other than by putting that on YouTube?
Who knows what kind of comments or direct messages he has stated.
Fair enough. But to your knowledge, has he done anything such as providing your contact information to anyone?
No.
In the video, you said you were a veteran of the Air Force.
Correct.
When you were in the Air Force, what was your occupation?
Security forces.
What sort of training does the Air Force provide on security forces?
I would be here all day if I told you. Numerous.
Well, give me some idea.
Law enforcement, missile security.
Missile security is not something that I'm worried about in the context of this lawsuit. What training did you have regarding law enforcement in the Air Force?
Basic law enforcement.
And what does that include?
Can't think off the top of my head, to be honest with you. Just law enforcement stuff.
Does it include education on protecting the constitutionally protected rights of persons?
Say that again?
Your training in the Air Force for security forces. Did any of that include training about how to not violate someone's constitutional rights?
What does not valid, what does that have to do with that? I'm confused.
I'm asking about your training and your education
Okay,
on not violating the rights of persons, whether those are due process or constitutionally protected rights of free expression, anything along those lines. I don't know what the Air Force security force training involves. Being a military, I don't know if it has anything to do with training on Fourth Amendment protections against unreasonable search and seizure. I'm asking you.
I'm not even sure. That's been years ago. I can't remember what happened yesterday, much less a year ago.
How long were you in the Air Force security forces?
Not sure. I will have to look at my DG 214.
Months, years, decades?
3 years. I don't know the approximate dates, months, whatever.
And after you, well, were you in the security forces at the time of your discharge from the Air Force?
Yes,
Was that an honorable discharge?
absolutely.
What did you do as your next occupation after the Air Force?
Nothing. I'm here.
I'm sorry?
I'm here.
Well, I mean, your occupation right now is a sergeant at the Waveland Police Department.
Correct.
Was that your next occupation after the Air Force?
Yes.
But then you took a break and from the Waveland Police Department and worked at the Harrison County Sheriff's Department for a period of time.
Correct.
And now you're back at Waveland.
Correct.
At what point in that history did you go to the Harrison County Law Enforcement Academy?
2018.
You just told me that you didn't know the dates of the Air Force, so I don't know when you got out of the Air Force, and I don't know when you started with the Waveland Police Department the first time. And you told me you didn't know when you worked at the Harrison County Sheriff's Department. So I don't know any of these dates. I need to know in the chronology of those occupations when you went to the Harrison County Law Enforcement Academy.
I'm not sure.
Was it before you started at Waveland?
Wait, say that again? I'm confused.
Did you go to the Law Enforcement Academy before you worked at Waveland the first time?
Talking about, was I certified?
That's a separate question, but I'm gonna ask, if you want to answer that one now, I'm gonna ask
I'm
it
just
later.
confused by what you're trying to get at.
I'm trying to figure out when you went to the Law Enforcement Academy in relation to your jobs. You told me 2018 twice,
Okay.
but I don't know when you started at Waveland the first time because you can't provide that data.
No, I cannot.
So was it before you started at the Waveland Police Department the first time or after?
Oh, I get what you're saying. The first time.
So while we don't know the exact dates, you left the Air Force security forces and then you went to the Law Enforcement Academy before you.
Incorrect.
Okay. Correct me.
Worked at Waveland PD. Got certified.
While you were working at Waveland PD?
Yes.
Okay. The first time.
Correct.
That helps a lot. So you left the Air Force, your first job after the Air Force was at the Waveland PD.
I left while I was employed with Waveland PD.
All right, I'll take that. And while you were working at Waveland PD for the first occasion, you went to the Law Enforcement Academy and became certified.
Correct.
Then you went to the Harrison County Sheriff's Department for some period of time as a certified officer.
Correct.
And then came back to the Waveland Police Department. And you're a certified officer now?
Correct.
And when you went to the law enforcement academy, what training did you receive on vagrancy laws,
I can't even remember.
stop and frisk laws?
I never ran over frisk, stop and frisk.
In what training do you remember?
Patting down subjects for weapons. That's it. No
Do you
searches.
remember any training on what was required before you could stop someone and frisk them?
I can't recall, to be honest with you.
Do you recall any training on statutes that were require someone to identify themselves?
I can't recall.
Do you recall any training at the Law Enforcement Academy about First Amendment?
I can't recall.
Do you recall any training about the Fourth Amendment?
I can't.
What are the Waveland Police Department policies on interaction with the public when they are engaged in expressive conduct?
You have to get with them as far as that.
You're a supervisor at the Waveland Police Department, and you don't know the policies on interactions with the public engaged in expressive conduct.
It's not something I study over. I can't recall.
Who would know the policies of the city of Waveland or the Waveland Police Department with regarding to persons engaged in expressive conduct?
I don't know.
Have you taken, since you completed the Law Enforcement Academy, any continuing education courses?
Yes.
Do you have a list of those?
No.
What do you recall?
SWAT school.
Anything else?
Can't recall.
Do you have any continuing education courses on the First or Fourth Amendment?
I can't recall.
So I think we went over this, but I didn't write it down. 7 or 8 years total law enforcement experience. Don't know how long at the Harrison County Sheriff's Department. So we can't figure out by subtraction how long you've been at Waveland. Do you recall how long you've been at Waveland?
I don't recall.
Do you recall whether you were at the Sheriff's Department for more or less than a year?
More.
More or less than, what, 2 years?
A year.
Why did you leave the Sheriff's Department and come back to Waveland?
Just did it.
During your tenure at the Waveland Police Department, have you been counseled or reprimanded in any way?
Yes.
On how many occasions?
I don't recall.
More or less than 10?
I don't recall.
More or less than 100?
I don't recall.
More or less than 1,000?
I don't recall.
What were they for?
One for not checking reports, time management.
You mean, you said not checking them, like proofreading them or not submitting them?
Proofreading, then submitting.
What else?
I don't recall, to be honest with you.
You need to take a break.
Good. Thank you for asking.
Let's go back to the call that you received from Chief Investigator Hersey that prompted you to go to City Hall where Mr. Gray was. Refer to your report if you need to, whatever you want. Tell me as much as you can recall about the specifics of what you were investigating at the
Harassing.
time of dispatch. Before you got out of the cruiser when we started the video.
So before the video.
Before the video, I want to know what information you have.
Harassing customers, peeping through windows, that general nature.
And all of that information came from Chief Investigator Hersey.
Correct.
In your interaction with Mr. Gray, was there anything more that wasn't recorded on the body cam video that we just reviewed?
Not that I'm aware of.
The body cam begins, I would describe it as concurrently with you exiting the cruiser.
I would say.
Did you, before activating the body cam, before exiting the cruiser, spend any time in observation of the plane?
No.
Before you approached Mr. Gray and with a greeting and a demand for identification, were you aware of what message he was conveying?
As far as?
Did you know what his sign said at the time you demanded identification?
No, I did not.
Let me go back to your training and your instruction on behalf of the Waveland Police Department. You approached Mr. Gray and asked for identification based on your testimony that you reasonably believed he had committed the crime of harassment or stalking. Is that in accord with Waveland policy?
I don't recall.
So you don't know if you were acting in accord with police department policy or not?
I don't recall. I don't know policies off the top of my head. I'm not a genius.
So you can't testify today that you weren't in violation of the policies?
I would have to go look at it, but I know I was doing the right thing.
The right thing according to whom?
Policies. I can't think of policies off the top of my head. No.
Well, how can you have it both ways, Mr. Joffrion? If you don't know the policies, How can you say that you were doing the right thing according to the policies?
I have no idea.
And you don't know what the policies are. So in this situation, you don't know what the police department policy is on approaching an individual standing at City Hall on the public sidewalk, holding a sign.
You don't
that
have a
says,
policy for that.
well, what policy would apply to a situation like that?
You have to contact administration.
But you were acting on behalf of the Waveland Police Department.
Correct.
So how did you know how to act on behalf of the Waveland Police Department? What were you relying upon to guide you in your interaction with Mr. Gray?
My experience.
What experience?
Law enforcement.
Specifically, what experience did you have with individuals holding signs in front of City Hall?
I have no idea. Don't recall.
So what other experience were you relying on in interacting with Mr. Gray?
Law enforcement.
Is this the first time that you had ever been called for somebody who was panhandling?
I don't recall.
Is it a crime to ask people for money?
Not a lawyer. I'll take a look at the statute book.
Well, you said that would be a violation of City Ordinance number 38 in your report. But we can't define, we don't know what City Ordinance number 38 is.
You have to get in contact with the investigators.
But I'm asking you about your report.
Mhm.
And you can't say whether it is or it isn't a crime to ask people for money.
Don't recall.
Nothing in your training has addressed whether or not asking people for money is a crime.
I don't recall.
What's your understanding of the First Amendment to the United States Constitution?
Yeah, I'm gonna object. You've repeatedly asked this witness to draw legal conclusions.
No, I
And he's
didn't.
he's not an expert witness. He's a fact witness. If you've got facts to ask him, then ask him the facts. But you're repeatedly asking him to draw legal conclusions, and that's not appropriate.
Your objection is never.
Well, no, it is noted, and you've done it repeatedly, and so I'm trying to avoid having to request a protective order on this. I mean, you know that it's not appropriate to ask these witnesses to draw legal conclusions. It's just not. And
I'm
you've
not
done it,
asking
and you've
him
done
to-
it all. What is your understanding of the First Amendment? That's not asking him to draw a legal conclusion. How is that not?
It is asking him what his understanding of the First Amendment is. I did not ask him what does the First Amendment of the United States Constitution protect, provide, or anything else. I asked him about his understanding of it. If he doesn't understand the First Amendment, then he can say that.
You've asked what facts constitute what crimes. You've repeatedly asked him to draw legal conclusions.
I asked him about his knowledge of the crimes that he accused my
Okay,
client
I
of
want
committing.
it on the record that I have asked you over and over again to quit asking these witnesses to draw legal conclusions because that is inappropriate. And if it continues, I'm going to ask for a protective order on it.
I'm going to continue to ask the witnesses what their understanding of the laws that they were enforcing was. If you think that's inappropriate, then we'll
we
have
can
to
see,
deal with that.
well, we can get the transcript and we'll see where it goes, but you can continue, but I want it clear for the record.
That's fair. What's your understanding of the First Amendment of the United States Constitution?
I don't recall. I'm not an expert as far as.
Do you know what the First Amendment protects at all?
I don't recall.
Do you know what the Fourth Amendment to the United States
I
Constitution
don't recall.
protects? Do you know what the Mississippi Constitution provides regarding the right of the people to peaceably assemble and petition the government?
Don't recall.
Do you know what the Constitution of the state of Mississippi provides regarding freedom of speech and the freedom of press?
I don't recall.
Do you know what the Mississippi Constitution provides with regard to deprivation of life, liberty, or property without due process of law.
I'm not a lawyer.
I understand that you're a law enforcement officer, not a lawyer. My question was very simple. Do you know?
I don't recall.
Mr. Gray asked you in this video if you had undertaken an oath to uphold and protect the Constitution of the United States of America, and you responded yes. Do you remember that?
Correct.
And did you also take an oath to uphold the Constitution of the state of Mississippi?
I don't recall.
But you would agree that your oath required you to abide by the Constitution, whatever it may require.
Repeat the question.
You would agree that your oath required you to uphold the Constitution, whatever it may require.
Which oath?
Your oath of office. You took an oath to be a police officer, didn't you?
I don't recall.
Do you recall telling Mr. Gray that you had taken an oath?
I don't recall what a video states.
Do you remember telling Mr. Gray that you don't need to explain anything to me because I literally don't care?
I don't recall, but if it's on the video, I'll say it.
Would you like to see it?
It's up to you.
Okay. Does that refresh your recollection?
It does.
All right. And you said that you were there in reference to vagrancy, and you said it was city ordinance, and we've established that's not true, right?
Who established that?
Well, you already admitted that vagrancy is not a crime.
Correct.
All right, and so it's not a city ordinance.
Okay.
Right?
Don't recall it being in the city ordinance or whether it is or not.
But you said it was. You said vagrancy was in the city ordinance. It's in your interaction. We can agree on that point, right?
Whether it is or that I said it.
That you said it.
That I said it, yes.
On Wednesday, May 30th, 2023, approximately 9:40 5 a.m. Mr. Gray was standing there holding a sign, correct?
The dates and the hours I don't pay attention to.
I'm assuming that those are correct. In fact, let's just remove those from the questions.
Okay.
Mr. Gray was standing there holding a sign that said, "God bless the homeless vets," correct?
When I arrived on scene, yes.
He was outside City Hall on the sidewalk next to the main entrance of the building, correct?
When I arrived on scene, yes.
Was he in any way impeding ingress or egress to the facility?
Explain that.
When you arrived, was Mr. Gray standing in such a way that he was impeding people from getting in and out of City Hall?
Like as far as blocking the entrance way?
Yes.
When I arrived on scene, yeah.
We've already established City Hall's public property.
Correct.
Do you know why you denied those two things that we just went over in your answer?
I don't recall.
Did you ever observe Mr. Gray acting abusively, threatening, or obstructionist to anyone?
Personally observed?
Yes.
No.
Did you observe Mr. Gray harassing or haranguing anyone? Again, personal observation.
No.
When you saw him, the whole time you interacted with him, did he speak at a reasonable volume, typical for someone on a sidewalk?
Explain that.
He wasn't yelling, was he?
His voice is a little agitated, aggravated.
Was it any louder than yours?
No.
Were you agitated?
Oh, absolutely.
Why were you agitated?
Honestly, because I don't want to have to do paperwork to arrest somebody for failure to comply.
Failure to comply with your order to provide identification?
Absolutely.
Were you agitated when you approached Mr. Gray?
No.
All right. So at what point did you become agitated?
When he refused to identify himself.
So, like right off the bat, he refused that. You asked him for identification, he denied. You became agitated at that point.
Is that what the video states?
Yes. Would you like to see it? I mean, we can go back. It's in the first 10 seconds.
That's fine.
Was that the point at which you became agitated or started getting agitated?
No.
So what point was that? Did you
I'm not
become-
sure. I don't know the exact minutes, seconds.
Did you observe Mr. Gray consuming alcoholic beverages?
No.
Did you observe him creating a disturbance or annoyance?
In my presence, no.
Did you observe him asking anyone for financial support?
In my presence, no.
Is begging for food, money, and stuff like that a crime?
My lawyer, don't recall.
You don't know. You ever been sued before?
No.
At any point during this interaction with Mr. Gray, did you consult with Officer Andrews, who's there at the end of the table?
No.
Was there a reason that you didn't discuss any of this with Mr. Andrews
Before or after?
before, during the time that you were interacting with Mr. Gray?
When you say consult, explain that.
Ask him what to do, how to handle it,
No.
debate anything about
No.
the best way to go about this?
No.
What, in the relationship at the Waveland Police Department, you're a supervisor, where does Mr. Andrus fall on that? Is he underneath your supervision?
Correct.
Do you know how long he's been an officer?
No.
Do you recall when this report was prepared?
No.
Does it indicate on the report itself when it was prepared?
Reported 5:30, 09:46.
Is that the time of the event, or is that the time of the report?
I'm trying to figure out. I don't see a date or time where it states out.
Okay, well, the body cam video that we've been looking at has in the top left,
Correct.
23/05/30/09:46 and 10 seconds. All right. So does that appear to be the time of the event and not the report?
I'm not sure.
You don't know if that report was prepared at the exact moment that this body cam was rolling.
So you're saying that I typed the report as I'm recording?
That's what I'm asking you, because you're
No,
saying
that's impossible.
So we know that this report wasn't prepared on May 30th, 2023 at 9:46 a.m.
Okay, correct. It'd be afterwards.
And my question that started all of this was, do you know when?
No, I don't.
Do you know whether it was the same day, the same week?
It's been over a year ago. I don't know.
Okay. So
I don't keep up with stuff like this.
well, explain the process to me. Down there in the bottom right corner, page 15, no, page in front of me, it says approval date and time, June 15th, 2023 at 9:34 a.m.
Okay.
All right. And that was approved by Mr. Hersey according to the report.
Correct.
So help me understand how this report works its way through the system, because it wasn't printed until July. You prepared it at some point. Your testimony is you don't recall when, whether it was the same day, same week, whatever. How do you prepare this report? Do you do this in the cruiser on a computer? Do you go back to the police station?
At that time, it was inside the police department.
And is there any log of when you would have prepared this report? Is there any way to determine when you actually prepared this report?
Not that I can recall. I just worked there and typed reports. Not above that.
So you go into a computer station there at the police department?
My office.
Does each officer have an office?
No.
Who has offices?
Sergeants.
And on this computer in your office, do you have the software that prepares this report?
Yes,
Is it the same software that's used by everyone?
yes.
You fill this out. I guess I don't know how it works. I don't know if these are drop downs or if you navigate to each block, whatever. But you prepare this report, and
Right.
then what?
Send it up to my next line of supervisor. They approve it.
How do you send it to your supervisor?
Submit.
Through this software application?
Yes.
I'm trying to understand and the email trail, whether you would fill out the report and then you would email it to them, but you're saying you submit it
submit
and
it.
it goes through that. And do you know how your supervisor becomes aware that they need to review and approve this report?
It could be a day later, it could be a week later, it could be a month later.
But do you know how they're notified that there's a report awaiting them?
No.
This incident with Mr. Gray blew up pretty fast.
Absolutely.
Do you recall whether this report was prepared before the widespread attention on the event or after it?
I don't recall.
So you can't testify today whether you prepared this in light of all of the attention that came from the YouTube and the news articles and everything else, or after it.
Truthfully, no. Like I said, it's been over a year ago. I don't keep stuff like this stored up in my head.
One of the news articles about this event said that the police department or the city or both, I don't know, was conducting an internal investigation. Were you part of that internal investigation?
I have no idea. I don't watch news.
That's not what I asked, Mr. Sergeant Joffrion. Were you part of an internal investigation?
As far as I know, no.
Did anyone from the police department or the city come and interview you about what had happened?
No.
Did anyone provide you with the results of an internal investigation?
No.
Did you receive any sort of counseling or discipline as a result of this event with Mr. Gray?
Why would I? No.
You believe that you spoke to the mayor after Mr. Gray left. This is not on body cam. Would that conversation with the mayor have taken place before you wrote this report?
The conversation with the mayor
Yes.
before the report?
Yes.
Yes.
Other than the mayor, did you discuss this with anyone else after Mr. Gray left?
I'm sure I did.
Who?
Everyone. I don't recall.
Who's
Bunch of
everyone?
people. I've had so many people approach me about it. I don't recall everyone.
Well, tell me the ones that you do recall.
Eddie Harrison,
All right. Who else?
my chief.
Who's your chief?
Michael McGrath. Mike McGrath.
And who else?
I don't recall after that.
So a bunch of people, but you can recall three.
Yeah, most important, my supervisors.
Supervisors,
Yes,
would that be Hersey and Pendergrass?
yes.
Excuse me. Do you have any other supervisors besides those two?
Not at the time.
Who is Ronnie Arquiguez?
City lawyer, I believe. I'm not sure. Attorney.
Who's Lisa Ladner?
I'm not sure.
Who is Aaron Halsey?
I'm not sure.
Who is Julie Bromwell?
I'm not sure.
Who is Christine Beck?
I'm not sure.
Who is Brenda Pickens?
I'm not sure.
Do you recall speaking to any of those people, Ladner, Aaron Halsey, Bromwell, Beck, or Pickens?
No.
As far as the city or the police department is concerned, you had no instruction before the event with Mr. Gray about how to interact with someone who was peaceably demonstrating at City Hall.
Say that again.
Before Mr. Gray,
Okay.
did you ever receive any instruction from the city or the police department about how to interact with persons who are engaged in expressive conduct at City Hall?
I don't recall.
I know I asked this about the First Amendment, but did you receive any training from your department on the protection of rights guaranteed by the Fourth Amendment?
I don't recall.
So you don't recall the frequency of the content of any such training?
I don't remember.
Do you recall the department ever holding whether it was a formal or an informal gathering or circulating even a memo on a bulletin board about protecting people's constitutional rights?
I don't recall.
Now, I understand that we're talking about Waveland, Mississippi, and I don't mean that to be in a dismissive venue, but it's not Chicago, New York, other places where it's more common. You had no training on how to handle a public demonstration?
I don't recall.
You do not recall any policies on public demonstrations?
I don't recall.
We've already established that you told Mr. Gray that a citizen can't get body cam footage and that's not accurate. Why did you tell him that?
Object for that is not what anybody says.
I don't recall.
What is your department's policy on review of body cam footage?
I don't recall.
How many times have you watched this video?
I don't recall.
Have you gone to Mr. Gray's YouTube channel?
Don't recall.
Have you read any of the comments on Mr. Gray's YouTube channel? Sergeant, let's take a few minute break. Let me go over my notes. I'm drawing to an end. I want to make sure I haven't missed anything.
Okay.
Sergeant Joffrion, we just got one area that I want to go back over. In this video, around the 2:20 mark, there's this interaction with Mr. Gray. We've already played it. It was when you said that you were investigating him for vagrancy, and then we talked about the portion about Mr. Gray saying, even though I've explained to you that I'm engaged, and you responded, you don't need to. You don't need to explain anything to me because I literally don't care. I'm out here in reference to complaint by the mayor of this city. My question for clarification is, when you said I literally don't care, what did you literally not care about?
I don't know.
Was it you literally didn't care about Mr. Gray's constitutionally protected expressive activity?
No.
Was it Mr. Gray's explanation that he had not committed any sort of crime, he was not a vagrant, that
No.
you didn't care about?
No.
So what didn't you care about?
His attitude, his words coming out of his mouth. Explanation.
Yeah, you don't need to explain anything to me because I literally don't care.
That's what I mean.
If you were conducting an investigation, why would you not care about the explanation given by the person being investigated?
Because he already stated that he wasn't committing a crime.
And that's not important to you.
I was there for a reason and he denied it, so it wasn't going any further from his perspective.
It wasn't going any farther from his perspective. What does that mean?
His opinion.
I still don't understand. What wasn't going any farther from his opinion?
Denying that a crime occurred.
So are you saying you didn't care that he denied a crime had been committed?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, I don't know what you don't care about.
He denied a crime didn't occur.
And that's what you didn't care about, his denial.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, well, please explain to me what you didn't care about.
His opinion. He stated a crime didn't occur. I left it as that. I don't want to hear no more excuses. I don't want to care. That's what I meant.
I don't know how to reconcile that with your earlier statement. You didn't care about his denial. After that, or immediately after that, if you have any complaints, you can send him an email or call him later on. You were talking about the mayor, correct?
Correct.
All right. So you were acting on behalf of the city, and in fact, its chief officer, the mayor, during this interaction with Mr. Gray, correct?
Take it to the front.
Was that?
Well, you said, I'm out here in reference to a complaint by the mayor of this city.
That's all I said.
Were you not acting on behalf of the mayor?
I don't know, was I?
You can't answer a question with a question. Were you acting on behalf of the mayor?
I don't know.
Why would you say, if you didn't know, why would you say if you have complaints, send the mayor an email or call him later on if you weren't acting on behalf of the mayor?
I don't know.
When you said you were acting on behalf of the mayor, and if you have any complaints, contact the mayor.
I never said that.
You said, if you have any complaints, you can send him an email or call him later on.
You just said I was acting on behalf of the mayor, which I did not say.
Okay. I'm out here in reference to a complaint by the mayor of this city. So that's what I'm asking you, and you're not answering. Were you acting on behalf of the mayor?
I don't know.
Then how can you say you weren't if you don't know?
I don't know.
That's all I have.
Just a few follow-ups. All right, did you show up to interact with Mr. Gray because he was just standing on the sidewalk or holding a sign?
No.
Did you interact with Mr. Gray because of the call you received from Eddie Hersey?
Yes.
And who do you understand had complained to Eddie Hersey?
The mayor.
And who do you understand had complained to the mayor?
At that point, I'm unsure if it was employees or customers, or if it was just employees or just customers in between. I don't know. I just know there was some forms of complaints.
Okay, and you went through this several times already, but from Hersey, did you understand that there was a complaint that Mr. Gray was harassing people
Correct.
and that he was peeping in windows,
Correct.
asking for money?
Correct.
Anything else that you recall?
Don't recall anything else.
All right, is that info from Hersey why you asked Mr. Gray for his ID?
Correct. Reasonable suspicion.
And did he give it to you when you asked for his ID?
First time, no. Continuing asking repeatedly, he finally decided to.
Okay, when you initially asked and he didn't give it to you, do you believe you had authority to arrest Mr. Gray at that point?
Yes.
Did you arrest Mr. Gray at that point?
No, I did not.
Did you instead instruct him to leave?
Correct.
So did you tell him he had to leave because you were choosing not to arrest him?
No.
Why did you tell him he had to leave?
Unsure. Agitated, aggravated.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, Sergeant Joffrion, you said in response to questions from your attorney that you thought you had the authority to arrest Mr. Gray at that point. Arrest him for what?
Fair to comply.
Failure to comply with what?
My lawful order.
To do what?
For him not identifying. Said failure to comply.
So at the time that you asked him for identification, you thought that you had the authority to arrest him.
Repeat the question?
At the time that you asked him for identification, you believe you had the authority to arrest him.
That's not what he said.
I didn't believe it. I did. I was going to arrest him.
Is to,
Ob-
all
object-
objections, except as the form of the
Object to
question,
that. Object
are
to the form.
reserved. When did you believe you had authority to arrest him?
I didn't believe it. I did.
When?
When he failed to identify the first time.
So let's go back to the video.
How you doing, man?
6 seconds. That's when you believed you had the authority to arrest him. Is that your testimony?
That was not my testimony. You put words in my mouth now.
Well, tell me when you had the authority to arrest him.
That's based off my opinion whenever the interaction occurred, as it continued. When he
And
refused
at
to
what
identify.
point, well, we're going to play it, and you tell me to stop then.
All right, so repeat the question.
You were supposed to stop me when you first had authority to arrest him.
Yeah, if he wasn't identified, I would arrest him.
Well, we're going to play it back, and I want you to tell me to stop. It's like at Olive Garden. Say when. We're going to go back to the beginning, and I want you to tell me when you first had authority to arrest him.
If he wasn't identified, I would have authority to arrest him.
You tell me to stop the video.
You didn't fail to identify. Very compliant. The video is going to continue playing.
So you're not going to tell me when you had authority to arrest him?
If he failed to comply with my order, I'd arrest him. Because I have reasonable suspicion to identify him.
You said that you had the authority to arrest him at the point that you asked for identification for failure to comply.
If
What
he would have
point?
refused.
At what point,
I don't know. You tell me.
sir?
I can't teach you how to be a cop.
I simply want you to identify on this video the point at which your testimony establishes you had authority to arrest Mr. Gray.
When he fails to comply with my order.
And at what point is that? I've asked you twice now, played the video twice, and we'll do it a third time.
We can do it a fourth or fifth time.
So you're not going to answer the question.
No, I'm not.
Why?
Because he didn't fail to comply.
He never failed to comply? Did he ever fail to comply?
I don't know. You can watch the video.
Are you able to answer the question? At what point in this interaction you had authority to arrest Mr. Gray or not?
I had authority to arrest him if he failed to comply to identify himself.
Now, your testimony to your attorney was you had the authority to arrest him at that point.
At what point?
That's what I'm asking you. I am asking you to tell me what you testified.
I don't think you're getting my answer. I had authority to arrest him, failed to comply if he would not have identified himself.
Did he fail to identify himself?
Did he? If he would have kept on arguing with me, yes. I didn't even arrest him.
I'm not
He
asking a
did.
hypothetical. I'm asking what happened.
You know what happened.
Did he fail to identify?
At first, yes.
At what point?
When he kept on arguing with me, when I requested his identification.
All right, so now we're going to go back through this, and I'm going to ask you to identify the point at which he first failed to identify. So we're at approximately 41
Whenever I
seconds.
requested him to identify, he kept on arguing.
Right. So you didn't have authority to arrest him earlier than that point when you said, in response to the question, am I required to give you ID? You said, yes, you are. What happens if I don't? You go into jail, period. You did not have the authority to arrest him at that point.
What are you talking about? He would refuse to identify. I'm sorry, let me reword that. If he would refuse to comply with my lawful order as far as not identifying himself, yes.
So approximately 41 seconds is the point at which you're like, it's been triggered. That's the point at which you could have arrested him, but you chose not to.
Correct.
And then after that, you said that you told him to leave because you were agitated, aggravated. Is
I
that
didn't
right?
tell him to leave because of that reason.
So why did you tell him to leave?
I'm not sure.
Well, how can you be sure it wasn't because you're agitated and aggravated? Those are your words.
Mhm.
If you're not sure why,
Who knows?
you don't know.
Yeah.
And you were the speaker. You were the one, the supervisor in charge.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.